We are officially about 1 week into 2026, and the world is going crazy. Let's recap some of the top things that have happened since the start of the new year and just before. This is for documentation purposes, etc. I'm going to just put this on the record. So on December 25th, we had the Donald J. Trump administration bombed Nigeria, and Trump himself posted that this was a Christmas present, okay? Then we have the next day, December 26th, Israel recognized the fake country of Somaliland, which we will refer to from here to forth as the Isak land, because per my friends from Somalia, this is about a small group of people from this tribe called Isak, and that what these Somalian people that are part of this recognition thing, they don't represent the whole of Somalia. These people in Somalia actually are very much in support of Palestine. So that's just a side note. Then we've got the escalating threats by the USA against Greenland. Greenland is actually part of the Kingdom of Denmark. So these threats against Greenland are essentially threats against Denmark. We have Denmark, which is one of the NATO countries, as is the United States. So if any NATO country is attacked, that is considered an attack on all of the NATO countries. Denmark most recently has come out and said that if the US does in fact target them physically, they will retaliate and defend themselves. So this has been happening this week, these just increasing escalation of threats against Greenland. On the early morning of January 3rd, so just 2 days after the new year, we had the Trump administration went ahead and kidnapped Maduro, the leader of Venezuela, from his country, and then brought him back to New York, where he is now being held, and he has already had his first court appearance. And in addition, we have the United States is also threatening to attack and target Colombia, Cuba, as well as Mexico, maybe some others that I haven't thought of yet. In the meantime, we have apparently there are protests happening in Iran. I'm seeing videos about that. What I can say about the situation and what we are being shown as far as these protests and what I'm hearing just from social media, that perhaps the people truly are discontented with their government, and that's fine. But the United States has already, kind of signaled this as well, that I think Trump himself even said that, that the USA will go in and quote unquote save the Iranian people from their horrible leader. So this is a very good pretext and setup for the US because, by the way, they, of course, want to target Iran. As I tell you all of this, keep in mind that my perception on everything geopolitically that's happening as far as the United States and Israel, what I like to say is where the United States ends and Israel begins, nobody knows. Essentially, they're like one and the same to me in many ways. So when I see Israel doing such things like, quote unquote, recognizing Somaliland, I look at this again as part of a bigger geostrategic or geopolitical strategy. If you look at Somaliland and Somalia on a map, you'll see it is right in a very strategic location right across the Red Sea, Gulf of Aden, right near Yemen. And don't forget that it's the Houthis from Yemen that have put up a formidable fight. They have done the Red Sea blockade. They have put up a good resistance to the genocidal Israeli occupier in their region. Meanwhile, we have the UAE. We cannot forget about the UAE, who, as it turns out, has been getting busy in the area of Somalia, building bases and using that territory to actually facilitate the genocide in Sudan, which we cannot forget is still ongoing. And right before the end of the year, there were just a huge escalation of that conflict. Tens of thousands of people were executed in cold blood. We cannot forget that actually the biggest humanitarian crisis in the world currently is considered to be what is happening in Sudan. Meanwhile, the Trump administration back in October had said that there was a ceasefire in Palestine. Just FYI, there ain't no ceasefire. People have been getting unalived on a daily basis pretty much in Palestine. And now they are basically facing this situation where they're living in the place has been decimated. still, decimation of the healthcare system. They're still not getting food and supplies adequately. They have no, proper shelter. There's been many videos showing the flooding. These people are living in horrendous conditions, and that is very intentional. That is all part of G-Side. Oh, yeah, and I forgot to mention, back to Somalia for a minute, this recognition of Somaliland also would be helpful for Israel Hara, because, they still have this desire to forcibly displace and ethnic cleanse Gaza, and they think that perhaps they'll send people to Somaliland, which, don't forget, it's a war crime to forcibly displace people. Meanwhile, internally in the United States of America, we have seen a drastic escalation in the immigration agent activity. So it was already bad, make no mistake. Since this administration took office, they have unleashed violence upon our citizens here, claiming that they are doing this in the name of, arresting criminals, when in fact that is not the case. So it has just been increasingly getting worse. Yesterday, there was a 37-year-old woman, Renee Good, who was unalived in cold blood by ICE agents in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Meanwhile, don't forget, Minneapolis, Minnesota is where the Somali community is heavily concentrated, and Donald J. Trump has been dehumanizing and saying the most unspeakable things about the Somalian people, coincidentally, all at the same time that this whole Somaliland thing is going on. So I don't really believe in coincidences. I'm pretty sure there's some interrelation there as well. They are also, as part of this internal, again, to the USA, targeting of the Somali community. They are retaliating against what they are saying is fraud by this immigrant community, most recently by cutting funding to daycare centers, which serves many purposes, not just to target Somalians, but also to target the U.S. people as a whole, because ultimately it is not a conspiracy theory. I will say with my full chest that this administration, they want to bring in this era of Christian nationalism, which basically looks like The Handmaid's Tale, if you're familiar with that book and that TV show that was on Hulu a few years back, in which, the women, they can't have jobs, they can't, basically they're just property, and they just, it's bad. So, eliminating things like daycare would just force women, especially women, to not be able to work because now you can't afford daycare. So these things serve many purposes. Meanwhile, we also have people like Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham is unhinged. He most recently said that he does not want to give another dollar of so-called welfare to the states without so-called biometric data. So this ties into the surveillance state that they are trying to build and have been actually working on for quite some time now. I would say at least a decade, maybe 20 years. They've been working on this. All the conspiracy theories that, we used to talk about back in the day, they're all happening right now. So all of these things are serving many purposes. The United States of America, you can look at the administration put out their national security strategy back this fall. And the tone of it is extremely colonial, extremely white supremacist, for lack of better words. They want to have this, top military, this most lethal military. They want to basically do the Monroe Doctrine on steroids, and that is what we're seeing with their activity in Latin America. The United States is, again, if you read that strategy, it will kind of inform you that this country, they think that they can basically bully their way into power. They are desperately trying to hang on to this dying empire, which I, at this moment, and think that where I am in my thought process is that this is actually the dying of this U.S. empire, and perhaps even just European imperialism as a whole, because make no mistake, Europe ain't doing too well either. So this is just sort of a very quick recap of just a few things that I'm thinking about right now. Of course, there's plenty more that I am sure I have missed. Feel free to put things in the comments that you feel are very significant that I missed in this video. I'm going to end with this, though. Last week, I don't know if I already mentioned it, but there was a man that was unalived in LA by a off-duty ICE agent. Please go and watch my last video that I made about this. And as I record this video, there's breaking news coming out of Portland, Oregon, where apparently two people have been shot by federal government agents. I'm not sure yet. It's still a developing story, so I don't know like the ins and outs of that. But there are lives happening in this very moment where people are discussing this. So the world has gone crazy, and it's only January 8th.